First of all, thank you for joining the conversation on Native Americans in tech with Making Our Strong Community Stronger. For those of you joining Making Strong Community Stronger for the first time, we're the first industry-wide C-level sponsored DE&I initiative in the mainframe industry. And we were founded about 4 years ago now. And we're excited to have you here for this conversation today. We'll introduce everybody here in a minute, but I wanted to just let everybody know that today's webinar is being recorded, so participants are muted during the panel discussion. But if you have a question or comment, we would really appreciate your active engagement through the chat. So please join us. We love comments, questions, conversation. This is meant to be a community-wide discussion. So let's keep the chat as active as possible during the conversation as we can. My name is Jeanne Glass, and I'm the first female founder and the first Native American founder of a mainframe software company in the 60-year history of the mainframe, and also the founder of Making Strong Community Stronger, along with Greg Lotko at Broadcom, and our sponsors, Open Mainframe Project, Tech Channel, BMC, Rocket, and IBM. And it's been really exciting and inspiring to be part of this initiative and these conversations and to see the impact that they have. And each webinar, more visibility, more attendance, more inclusivity as the initiative continues to grow. So we're really happy to have all of you here today. Thank you. With that, I'd like to introduce our moderator. We're really happy to have, through this initiative, met Dean Dauphinais, and he's going to moderate the conversation today. So welcome, Dean. We're glad to have you here.
Hey, thank you very much, Jeannie, for that. I appreciate that. And I just want to also welcome everybody into the Making Strong Community Stronger event with the focus on Native Americans in tech as we continue to celebrate Native American Heritage Month. My name is Dean Dauphinais. I am an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians. I am also a Spirit Lake Dakota as well. I am the CEO of Native Eco Solutions. I'll be your moderator today, and I want to thank you all again for joining us. The goal of this event is to help educate folks like you on joining us today on what it means to be a Native American in tech. We're very fortunate to have some great subject matter experts joining us today along that journey. I have the honor and privilege to introduce our panelists today. We have some trailblazers in this industry, and I want to get right into those introductions. First off, you just heard from one of our subject matter experts, Jeanne Glass, who is a member of the White Earth Nation of Anishinaabe people in northern Minnesota. She earned her master's degree in international management. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in management, information systems, and participated in executive programs at the Harvard and Stanford Graduate Schools of Business. Jeanne is also the founder and CEO of VirtualZ Computing, as well as the founder of this very platform we're on today, Making Strong Community Stronger. We also have with us today Jeremy Hamilton, aka the Big Iron Guy. He's a citizen of the Cherokee Nation from Oklahoma. Jeremy is the first Native American to graduate from Santa Clara's Levy School of Business. Jeremy has over 20 years in tech and is currently a strategic field CTO at BMC covering North America, as well as has developed a social media persona known as the Big Iron Guy, where he shares his perspective on how the latest trends such as development, operations, site reliability engineering, AI, and how they can help mainframe operation teams. Lastly, we have Phil, last but not least, Phil Sutherin is an enrolled member of the Fort Peck Assiniboine tribe located in Poplar, Montana. Phil is a graduate from Haskell Indian Nations University and has been working in tech for over 10 years, to include working for IBM, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and is currently a mainframe client services consultant at Broadcom. Okay, so we're going to get right into this today, get to know our panelists a little bit more in depth here. And so I'm just going to pose this question to our panelists, and you guys, we'll start with Jeanne. We'll let you kind of kick us off, and then you can pass it to Phil or Jeremy when you're done. So can you guys each briefly describe how your journey into tech has been influenced by your Native American heritage?
Yeah, thank you, Dean. So of course my heritage is most impactful in my family and family culture and our legacy. And growing up, participating in powwows on our family reservation, and just participating, in the culture of the Native American community, where my family is very actively engaged. Also, one of my cousins, I grabbed it here, put together a beautiful book that tracks our family legacy back to the year 1639. And I really love looking back at that book and reading about, my grandmother was known for, my great grandmother was known for her beadwork. And I just really appreciate that my family took time to put that together, not only for my generation, but for future generations. So I think that's the greatest impact is really on me and my family. But as far as my education and pursuing a degree in technology, I benefited from financial aid programs for Native Americans in tech. And one of the benefits of joining a conversation like this today is to share resources and make sure that anyone who's interested in a technology career knows that there's resources available like I benefited from, and they're available for anybody on this call or otherwise who's interested in pursuing a career and needs that kind of support like I did at that time. And then also at work at VirtualZ, one of our product names here is Lozen, Lozen. And Lozen was a female Apache warrior. She was known for her fearlessness and bravery in battle. And as the first female and first Native American founder of a mainframe software company, Lozen was the inspiration for our flagship product here at VirtualZ. So my Native American heritage is, woven throughout my family culture, certainly rooted in my education in technology, and of course, a very special and meaningful way for me here with Lozen as the founder of VirtualZ.
Beautiful. How about you, Phil?
For me, I don't know, growing up, I was always kind of the family tech who, was, getting my grandma's computer started, grandson, go fix the VCR, that sort of thing. But then as far as like my career goes and getting into tech, it actually started at Haskell. I was there and going in my, I was a DJ at the time. I was a sound engineer, and I had kind of gone to school for that before coming to Haskell. And then when Haskell, the IT department found out that I understood audio equipment, and they're like, we could really use some help with our audio equipment. And so they offered me a job. And then that's when they offered me to learn IT as well. And so that I worked there for nearly 4 years in their IT department, helping with Haskell's digital infrastructure and doing anything on the list that they needed done, from networking to simple help desk stuff. And so that's where I really started my journey there. And that's when IBM came to do a STEM camp there, they got to meet me and I set it up for them, and we got to talking, and next thing I knew, I was working for IBM. And so and that's where I started my mainframe journey, was with IBM. And so far it's just turned into a wonderful career as you went through. And it's just been, one of those passions, like when you find that moment where you're like, hey, I like this and I'm pretty good at it too. So it was a fun discovery, there at Haskell, and it has only grown since.
Beautiful, man. I love to hear it. Thank you for sharing that, Phil. And the big iron guy. How's it going,
Yeah,
man?
no, it's interesting. I believe my engineering career started by growing up on a small farm in Oklahoma. Like many people, we a lot of times didn't have everything we need, but we made do with what we had. And so you had to be creative. You had to, put things together to make them work. And so my first career, believe it or not, I was a physicist for IBM. and I worked at Almaden Research Center out in San Jose, California. I was looking around. Everybody had advanced degrees. And I thought, I need to get one of those. And so I ended up getting a Master of Science in Information Systems at Santa Clara. And they asked me, hey, you want to try this mainframe thing out? So I did, and that's how I ended up on the mainframe. Now, as a Cherokee, like a lot of tribes, we have a really rich oral history, and so in my job, storytelling is a big part of it. If you think about the Cherokee storytelling, you have stories about, creation, you have hunting stories and war stories. But that's really impacted my career more than anything. Being able to paint the picture with words and take really complex topics and simplify it down into something memorable and impactful that people can take forward with them. And that's really key in the corporate world and a cultural world. And no matter if you're a sales team, a small technical team, or just hanging out at home. So that been a really, really big influence on mine.
Matt, I appreciate that. Such a great point too. And you guys probably find this as well, being Native American. Once people know that you're Native American, all of a sudden you start getting peppered with all the questions and everything, right? So you almost have to, you take on that extra role as an educator in a lot of ways, right? Which I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I embraced it. I ran into that while I was in the Marine Corps. Everybody thought I knew everything about all the tribes because I was a Native. And so I appreciate the work that you guys do out there and helping to educate people on your heritage and everything. I look at it as bridge building, right? So there's a lot of folks that just don't understand and they want to learn. They genuinely care and want to learn. So I try to take every opportunity I can, as I'm sure you guys do as well on that front. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So we want to talk mainframe a little bit here. So that term, it's used a lot. You hear it in movies, you read it in books. But often, maybe not necessarily correctly. So can you guys share what is mainframe? What does it mean to you and your line of work and everything? And what's the appeal to it? And talk about some of those things regarding mainframe. And this time we'll kick it off. We'll start with Phil on this one.
All right. Yeah, it was when I first heard about mainframe and first started interacting with it, I was like, man, this is something else. And it seemed old to, and I know I'm not the first one to ever have that thought or that experience. And as I progressed with it, as I learned more about it, and as I learned about the impact on the world, I realized this isn't old. It's been around, but it is very advanced and it is extremely impactful, not only to the global economy, but to the everyday user. So I guess that, it goes hand in hand there. Everybody interacts with mainframes every day. And, it's just been a really cool journey. And being, and I guess to tie that in with like my heritage in Native American, I'm, and I know I'm not the only one, but I've often been mistaken as other races, and that's been fine. And it's been a cool opportunity to educate people. There have been some people that are like, I tell them, I'm like, oh, I'm not, Hispanic or Indian. I'm Native American. And they're like, oh, well, I'm not native to America. And I'm like, well, actually, it means something to like indigenous peoples, and it's a whole different demographic, and it's a cool opportunity, because then that's when I get peppered with the questions, and asking about tribes and educating people, and it's been a fun journey getting to explain that, and within the tech world, and just within mainframe. And so being able to have that combination as I've gone forward of experience, of just like helping people learn about Native Americans, but then also helping people learn about mainframe has been kind of like a dual fun part of the journey.
Yeah, I remember once I was in New York, and this gentleman, and I know he wasn't trying to be mean. He asked if we still lived in teepees in Oklahoma, and I developed some thick skin over the years, and I smiled and I was like, well, no, I got a house just like you do, But yeah, no, there's a lot of people who, like you said, Dean, they just don't know, and similar for the mainframe. A lot of people think it's this supercomputer. you know, but really it's just another computing platform. What it's really good at is taking large amounts of data and processing it all simultaneously, and you know, taking care of 70% of the world's data, and then 70% of the Fortune 500 companies still use mainframes today.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we've all kind of landed in the mainframe space by hook or by crook. None of us really set out on an intentional journey here. I ended up in the mainframe industry because in college I had no idea what I wanted to do, and my mom and my uncle worked for Honeywell. I graduated high school in 1981. And you know, computers weren't on our desks, they weren't in our homes at that time, but they were at Honeywell. And my mom told me you need to study computers because no matter what you decide to do, computers are going to be in your life. And so I started the MIS program at the University of Wisconsin, and kind of like you said, Phil, I was shocked to learn that I was good at COBOL programming. Like that was the last thing I would have thought would be a skill set for me. And that was the bulk of the degree was really around COBOL programming and mainframe computing. And two professors hired me as their student teacher. And I ended up teaching at the university as a student teacher as well. And it really informed my career. But had my mom not said, you know, at least just go study something that no matter what you're going to do, it would apply, you know, who knows what might have become of me. But that's really where my career in the mainframe began, and bulk of it at Computer Associates from there. And I did leave the mainframe industry for a while. I went into cybersecurity, and I always felt a little out of place. And now back in the mainframe space, I just feel like I'm back home. And there is something about this industry that's really special. And so many people don't know that their lives literally rely on the mainframe computer, their day-to-day lives. I recently spoke at a conference and there were about 200 people in the audience. And I asked everyone in the room, if you've used your phone today, your cell phone, raise your hand. And of course, everybody's hand flew up. And I said, well, then you've used the mainframe. And you could tell people were like, they got that confused look on their face. What do you mean? It's like, well, pretty much anything you do transaction wise in your day-to-day life, from your credit card to your phone, you name it, you're using a mainframe. And so I kind of resonate, you know, Jeremy and Phil, with what you said about how important this platform is. It makes the world go round. It makes every individual in a transaction world, their lives go around. And people don't understand, if all the mainframes in the world got unplugged in this moment, like the world would come to a screeching halt in terms of, you know, business and our personal lives as well. So I just think it's a great industry. I love being part of it. And it's obviously my passion, you know, that I started a mainframe software company says a lot about how I feel about the mainframe. So I'm just glad to be part of this community.
Definitely does. Can you guys, so from what I researched, mainframe has been around since the 50s. Is that accurate? And then so some of the thoughts are that it's old, it's going away. Well, the term I think is legacy, right? In tech that's used for those kinds of things. So can you guys talk about dispelling that? Is it going away? Is it too old? What does mainframe look like now and in the future? We'll start, Jeremy, kick us off on that one.
Yeah, no, you know, in the computing world, if a platform or a technology falls behind and it doesn't meet the demand, then it can quickly become obsolete. And the fact that the platform itself has been around this long really is a testament to how it evolves and grows and adapts to new workloads, new demands, with new technologies coming on like AI ops and Gen AI and DevOps, and all those are quickly growing on the platform, really, you know, to meet what the world is you know, demanding of it. So is it going away? You know, in the smaller ones, maybe, you know, some of the smaller ones may be looking at, can we right platform certain workloads, but the mainframe itself, especially for the larger institutions, is here to stay.
Yeah,
What do you think? Go ahead.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Let's see, it was about 20 years ago now that I first joined Computer Associates. And back then there was the discussion about, you know, the mainframe is going to be, you know, decommissioned, and, you know, other technologies are going to displace it. and the mainframe is growing at a faster pace than ever. And most companies have no intention of getting off the mainframe. Most companies have a hybrid cloud strategy. And the mainframe is really the first cloud platform. Companies don't think of it that way, but that's the reality. So I believe the mainframe is here to stay because there is not another platform that can support the transaction volumes in a secure, reliable, available way. I mean, none of us call our airline to book an airline ticket and hear, oh, our system's down, call back later. That doesn't happen because the mainframe can scale to a world wide level of transactions of all of us booking airline tickets or hotels or whatever the case may be. And only the mainframe can support that. And I've read a lot of articles have been coming up, in fact, about the reverse trend where companies are starting to decommission cloud and move things back to the mainframe because the move to the cloud has not been successful. It doesn't have the security, the performance, the reliability, the availability, and there's already some trend moving from the cloud back to the mainframe. I don't know, Bill and Jeremy, what you're seeing in your business, but I'm definitely seeing some media about that.
Yeah, and to piggyback off what you said, also the cost, those data centers are expensive. Those wind tunnels that they create rack up an insane electric bill. And I would also say that another reason why that the mainframe has continued to soldier on so well is the fact that it has stayed current, it has stayed updated. Anybody who's watching this at some point, Google IBM Z16 and tell me if that thing looks old, because you will see nothing but fiber connections and very much new looking tech, and it's really cool. In fact, there's some tours on those data centers, and everything looks state of the art. It's like walking into the future. So mainframes are not old. They are very, very much, they've been around a long time. And I think that's probably where some of the misunderstanding comes in, is because it's been around so long. And Jeremy highlighted the fact that people consider that to be old, those, because other platforms would fall behind. And in fact, when me and Jeremy, we actually talked at Haskell last week, and we highlighted some of the cool and upcoming features that are being tied in with mainframe, like AI. It pulls in with all those buzzwords, the AI, quantum, and it's just getting more and more advanced. It's so cool.
Yeah, just one more point. I mean, Jeanne talks about the volume, Phil talked about the cost, but there's also the security, and the uptime. And being able to be the most secure platform and have the highest levels of uptime is key for today's modern world.
A little bit more high tech than that VCR you were talking about earlier, Phil, huh?
Yeah, you caught that.
longevity than
VCR.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you guys for sharing your expertise on mainframe. I'm kind of geeking out listening to you guys talk about that because I wasn't as well versed, or am not as well versed on the subject. So, but we like to switch gears and talk about the future a little bit. Actually, let me back up one step. Regarding mainframe tech, so if you're talking to native students and such out there, what would you tell them about, if they're interested in mainframe tech, what would you guys say to those folks?
There are free education resources out there, and they can start learning now. And if they really want to diversify their resume and their profile, if you look at the line out the door for Google, they might post 14,000 internships, but they've got millions of applicants. And so the line out the door for internships is really long. If they really want to diversify their profile, they can start learning mainframe now by going to these free resources like Open Mainframe Project and Z Explorer, and they can start interacting with the material, with the systems, and start helping themselves stand out, because mainframe is current. Mainframe's not going away. Mainframe is modernizing. And so they have a chance to get ahead of the game by learning mainframe.
Yeah, and I would say there's two types of students: early stage students, college graduates or high school graduates that are looking to, maybe started a degree program. And there's certainly universities that have mainframe curriculum where they could start there. And then also, I think, Phil mentioned several, but there's a lot of programs for mid-career professionals or otherwise who might be interested in entering the mainframe space as well. So Broadcom, you have your Vitality program. And there's just a lot of resources available for anybody interested, regardless of the stage of their career, early career, mid-career, or later career. You can enter this space in any of those trajectories. And then what I would also add is, there's a skills shortage in this industry, which is true of many industries, right? The restaurant industry is struggling and so forth. But certainly there is a talent gap in the mainframe industry, and it's a viable career option. You will get a job with a degree in some capacity that would help you enter the mainframe industry. I really think it's a really viable career option, regardless of where you are in your career.
Yeah, just to take that one step further, I think about that early career person, the one right out of college or one starting on the platform. You don't have to know it all day one. And sometimes it can take quite a while to even learn something simple. But once you master that one task, that one activity on the mainframe, it kind of has the domino. You can then build and quickly expand your knowledge base on the platform. It's been around for a long time, and there's a lot of things to learn.
And
Thank you
I
guys
feel
for
like
sharing that. Go ahead,
I
Phil.
do want to say, one more thing. And Phil touched on this as well, and Jeremy as well. If you're a student and you're looking to get into exciting technology, you're gonna right away think about things like AI and apps and so forth. But I'll tell you, here at VirtualZ, we hired a very early stage developer, very early on in his career. And he cannot believe what he's learning on the mainframe platform. Like, he thought he was going to be learning, something more, this word legacy tied to the mainframe, and it's the complete opposite. It's an amazing technology. It's an innovative technology. It's a modern technology. And whatever he does with his career, he is building his resume in a way that's going to serve him for the rest of his days by being here and learning the mainframe. And he had no idea when he came in that was going to be his experience. So I also want to say, not only will the industry meet you wherever you are in your career, but I think the big surprise and aha once you get here will be what a modern technology you're going to be learning about and how it will benefit you whatever direction your career goes. That experience is going to be a strength for you for the rest of your career, without a doubt.
I remember graduating grad school, and all my grad school friends were like, "Why are you going to work on the mainframe? That thing's going away." But yet here I am, 20 years later, still working with the platform, still learning. Just picking up Gen AI on the platform now. We got AI ops and all these different pieces fitting together on that foundation, building upon the mainframe foundation and pushing the platform forward.
right. And I'd even say, because I've heard some people, when they're first looking into mainframe, they're like, oh, I don't want to get stuck on learning just one technology. And I'm like, like you both said, that doesn't happen. If anything, you learn so much more than you would anywhere else, because your profile just becomes so much more diverse. And with this modernization boom, you learn way more than you'd ever expect to. Like, I feel like if I were to, I won't leave mainframe, but if I were to, I feel like I could handle just as much anywhere else, if not more. So like, I feel like mainframe skills, if you, they're transferable in so many ways.
And the mainframe modernization, you mentioned that, Phil, the mainframe modernization, I read the other day, the mainframe modernization services market is estimated to reach 80-some billion dollars. This is a career of the future. Absolutely.
Right.
I'm glad you touched on that, because I was gonna talk about, it's gotta be lucrative as well, right? And quality of life, would you guys all say is high working in the industry as well? I think that's important to young people as well, right? Well, to
Oh, yeah.
anybody, it's important, but particularly in this industry, be able to make some decent money, be able to live a, lifestyle that you choose to live, I should say. So checks those boxes, right? What'd you guys say?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
That's perfect. Okay, so looking ahead, what opportunities or emerging fields in tech should Native Americans be engaging with? And where did we leave off last time? I think, are we circled back to Jeannie kicking us off again? Let's do that.
Sure. Well, I think we touched on it. Really, I think understanding that the mainframe is a futuristic technology, that it's here to stay, that it is an AI platform, it is a go forward platform, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry and growing. Like I said, with the estimate of 80-some billion dollars for just the mainframe modernization market alone. So I guess I would just encourage anybody who is interested in technology to look at the mainframe platform as a modern platform to educate yourself on and establish yourself in this industry. It's a very welcoming industry, and people will roll their sleeves up to help you enter this space without a doubt. There's so many resources available that there is an entree point wherever you are in your career, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask 100 mainframers what their educational background is, almost none of them would say IT or computer programming or we all come from various different backgrounds, and we bring that perspective to the platform. I was talking with a person up at Haskell, and he had a business administration background, and he said, "Do you think there's a place for me on the mainframe?" Absolutely. If you will pick up some IT skills, you can apply that in the front office. You can apply it in sales. You can apply it in marketing. You can apply it in support and services, or you can get down in the bits and bytes and be a developer or an architect. All those different pieces really, can spawn off of an education like business administration.
Yeah.
Right. And the community's a really positive one. Like Jeannie mentioned, people just rolling their sleeves up to help you. Technically, Jeremy and I are competitors, but we've become good friends, and it's been really cool being able to have that relationship and just being able to just build up new mainframers. And I've had so many people reach out to me and help me along my journey. It's really amazing. So there's an opportunity to you know, to learn so much more and to, just build amazing networks and relationships. It's a great place to be.
That's
Maybe
perfect.
another resource, there's for those of you who might be considering joining the mainframe community, there's a user group. In fact, it's the first technology user group that started in the 1950s that's still alive and well today, Share Association. And Share Association is a place that mainframers come together on a biannual basis. There's lots of education available there, but that's a great place for, again, any career stage, even very, high school graduates come to the conference to look around and meet with vendors like Rocket, BMC, Open Mainframe Project, Tech Channel. All of our sponsors are there. And it's a great way to just kind of walk around and meet people and also be with your peers, because you'll have peers there, you know, if you're early college or mid-career, where you can, you know, kind of in one spot, get a really good feel for the industry at large.
Right. And another thing to mention about Share, if you are a student and you're registered for at least 12 credit hours, you can attend these conferences and have the registration fee waived. And it's not a cheap registration fee. It's like that's thousands of dollars. And so you can have that registration fee waived. You do have to pay to get there, but once you're there, it's a great free opportunity to get to know, and like Jeannie said, meet these professionals, build your network, and learn, because there's a lot of educational sessions about learning.
Yeah, I went to the one in Kansas City, and I remember walking around, in previous years, and I felt like the young guy, and I'm in my 40s. But at the Kansas City one, I felt like the old guy. There was a lot of young people there that were excited about the mainframe and looking forward to, learning more about it. The next one, I believe, is in DC in the February timeframe. So hopefully people will go and check it out.
Thank you for sharing that, guys. So let's switch gears a little bit to talk about challenges and representation in tech. Part of the topic was, right, representation. Can you guys share what you believe are the greatest challenges Native Americans face in the tech sector? Can you share some of those? And if you have any personal experiences or any anecdotes to add to that, I'd appreciate that. And we'll go over to Phil to kick us off on this one.
Sure. Yeah. I'd say sometimes finding those resources and those opportunities can be a challenge. Knowing who to talk to and knowing where to get started can be tough. Like Haskell, where I went to school, amazing school, but they didn't have a CIS degree program, and I wanted to learn CIS. Thankfully, they have a bridge, or at least they did when I was there. They had a bridge program where I could take classes at KU, and I was able to take some computer classes that way. But I really had to go beyond what was, the normal of what was kind of laid out in front of me for my classes. I had to reach past to that, because I knew I wanted to be in a tech career. I knew I wanted to work in IT. I'd been doing it for the university, and I knew that's where I wanted to go. And so it was a little bit of a challenge there, because sometimes there aren't resources, and then sometimes it's easy to be overlooked, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's very understandable, but it is a challenge.
I would say geography is kind of a challenge as well. I grew up, like I said earlier, on a small farm, and I never dreamed of being in IT. And once I got into IT, I moved to larger cities, and a lot of people don't want to do that. Well, the cool thing about the mainframe specifically, but IT in general, is a lot of the jobs are remote. Yeah, some of them aren't, but a lot of them are, and you can literally live anywhere. I can haul hay and fix fence on Sunday, and Monday morning I'll be in a boardroom in New York City, and that's a normal week for me. So don't let the geography aspect, hold you down.
Dean, I see there's a question in the chat which kind of relates specifically to this question. So, yeah.
You go answer, and then I was going to weave that in there as a follow-up. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so closely tied to this topic. I thought we might as well just jump there. So the question in the chat is, when talking to other Native Americans who are interested in tech careers, what are the common reasons they avoid mainframe as an option? And honestly, I think it's not so much avoiding the mainframe. I think it's technology at large. We need to do a better job making resources easily accessible. And through conversations like this, which are important, just make sure that we're getting the word out there that this industry exists, that it's a futuristic industry with a strong career potential, regardless of where you are. And then specific to the mainframe, I do believe that so many people don't even know that it's a platform, because it's not on our desk, it's not in our homes, it's not in our work offices. It's kind of tucked away in the world, running, doing its thing without any of us having to think about it. So we don't think about it. So I'm not sure it's avoided so much intentionally as it's lack of awareness of this platform. You know, most colleges and universities are not talking about the mainframe as a platform as part of their technology curriculum. There's a few of them that do, but they're unusual. And so I don't necessarily, I'll be interested, Jeremy and Phil, what you experience, but I don't see anybody intentionally avoiding the mainframe space. I see them being unaware or misunderstanding the mainframe space, and therefore not pursuing it, and because they don't realize the huge opportunity in this industry. But I don't know, Phil and Jeremy, what do you see?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I'd also say that there's another thing I've noticed within when I talk to people about tech and mainframe, there are some people and students included who look at me and they're like, "Oh man, that's too smart for me." And I'm like, "No, it's not. You know, that not only is like a tech career possible for you, but a mainframe career is possible for you." You know, they doubt themselves, and because they for some reason it's like there's this stigma that if like, oh, if I want to work in a tech career, I have to have pi memorized by by so many characters of pi memorized. And it's like, no, you don't have to be super mathematical or an excellent coder or anything like that. If you find that your passion is more just looking at systems, or which you may not even realize you have that passion, to be honest, you know, if you don't think you can work in tech, but there's so many avenues, so many ways to learn and to grow and to find yourself within a mainframe career. And like you said, sometimes that awareness isn't there, and sometimes I believe that encouragement in saying that you can do this isn't there either sometimes. Yeah. So.
Now, just to take that step further, you know, one of the reasons why I'm in tech in general is I had an uncle who worked for Seagate Technologies, and he showed me that there was a world outside of the county I grew up in. And for us, the challenge for us three on the call and many others in the IT world is being that mentor, being that encouragement, you know, leading by example and showing that there are natives on the platform. The mainframe is there. There's natives in IT. And so that's one of the most rewarding, enriching pieces of my job is being able to see and interact with other natives that are coming up in the ranks. I met a girl, a young lady in our company, Rachel, and you know, she found out she's Cherokee. And so, you know, I can't wait to see her blossom in her career and watch her grow. So that's another piece, is getting more mentors and more vocal about us being here.
Yeah.
I go for it,
I was
Phil.
just going to say, you know, like when you talked about mentoring, you know, that I remember talking to people and tutoring people, and I'd see some of like this one girl one time wrote out this amazing Excel equation in this class. And I was like, have you ever considered a career in IT? And she's like, oh, that's too smart for me. And I was like, what you just did in Excel, I can't do. I was like, you are way smarter than you think you are. And then that's where things kind of started progressing towards another conversation of maybe she could do tech, you know, and yeah.
You know, it's like you never know when you're going to impact somebody in a good way, right? So always make that effort to do it, right? So I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate what you do there. Jeannie, did you have any other thoughts on that?
Well, I just came back from a conference, and somebody asked me, you know, what do I do? And I said, you work in the mainframe industry. And right away they said, oh my gosh, that's too much for me. And so with Phil, when you said that, I had completely forgotten that I have heard like this level of intimidation that the mainframe computing platform is too hard. It's too sophisticated. It's too advanced. It's like, I won't be able to do the mainframe. And that's just so not true. And I know that feeling because I had that feeling as a young person. in high school, if somebody would have said I was going to have a career in the mainframe, I, one, wouldn't have known what in the world they were talking about. And two, I wouldn't have believed it. And even into college, when I started working on the mainframe, still would not have imagined an entire career in the mainframe industry. And so you just don't know until you get involved. And once you do get involved in the mainframe space, you will find that it is like again, it's an exciting space. It's a challenging space. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to have a great career. And more than anything, you're going to work with great people who are going to want to help you grow, because mainframers are committed to mainframers.
Right.
They just are.
I think it's funny you mentioned high school, because recently my parents said they bumped into one of my old high school teachers, and she asked, "Oh, how's Phil doing?" And they're like, "Oh, he works with mainframe systems, and he's like big in tech." And my teacher looked at them and said, "I did not see that coming." So yeah.
Beautiful, man. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think a lot of it has to do with just taking just taking those first steps, right? Initiating that process and never know where, leap of faith almost, right? To go down. You
Right.
never know. I mean, especially as a young person, you think that's why so many college majors change. I don't know what the percentages are, but you never know. But if you have an interest in tech at all, I think that's it's a good place to go down that pathway to pursue it. And I want us to kind of switch gears, but also just also informing the folks that are tuning in here, please do share. We're going to get into some Q&A here shortly. So, for our panelists, are you guys okay with questions coming in that have to do with tech, some that maybe don't have to do with tech, but have to do more about you as a Native American, things like that? Because I know people are curious, right? I know a lot of people are curious. A lot of people, this is the first time they're ever engaging with Native Americans. And so, want to take the opportunity to engage on that level. But as we wrap up kind of our rounds of our questions in here and our format, just like to get your advice that you have for younger Native Americans in tech, as far as, maybe go down this pathway, look at this program. There's ACEs out there, there's different things. Can you guys just share about that? Some tips or some advice that you would give to younger Native Americans in tech. We'll start with the big iron guy.
I think what I would say is, find an area that you're passionate about. Take a class that's outside of your normal, realm of expertise, but something that you think you might be passionate about, and give it a shot. My first computer programming class was C and C++, and I failed miserably. My first systems class was in grad school, and I failed miserably. But keep going, keep learning. It's an iterative process. It doesn't happen overnight. But yeah, look at systems, look at security, look at how cloud interacts with different platforms. There's a lot of technologies that are out there, and it all kinds of builds on one another. And once you understand the logic of how those systems come together, you can really apply that in a lot of different ways, especially on the mainframe platform.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Jeanne?
Yeah, I think I would also, which Jeremy kind of touched on this earlier, but Jeremy, your comments just made me think we should probably double down on this. There are all sorts of jobs in the mainframe industry that have nothing to do with technology. There's marketing, there's finance, there's legal, you name it. In this industry, any career path you have, sales, marketing, technology, finance, legal, any discipline you're interested in exists in the mainframe industry. So it really doesn't have to be about being a mainframe programmer or ever touching a mainframe. I can tell you, I work in the mainframe industry and I don't ever actually touch a mainframe. I just don't. But I'm here every day working in this industry without ever touching, the platform itself physically. So I would also, just kind of expand this conversation to, come join us in this industry. And it doesn't need to mean that you're a deep technologist. You could be a lawyer, you know, a marketing person, a finance person, any discipline that you're interested in, you certainly could find a home here.
Yeah, I, agree with what both Jeremy and Jeannie said 100%. And I just say, three things real quick, keep believing in yourself, keep going, like Jeremy said, and stay curious. Because also, like Jeannie said, there's so many options, there's so many ways to be involved, and so many ways to explore your passions. And so if you come in here and you're thinking, oh, I think I like more the business side, but then you start getting drawn towards the technical side, you can keep doing that, or if you get into the technical space and you realize I'm more of a people person, you can start, having conversations and working towards that field as well. So keep going, keep believing in yourself, and you can do whatever you set your mind to.
One more thing, if I may. Yeah, just like with anything, there's terms and technology to learn. And if you can pick up a few of those, it'll make your life a lot easier learning the platform. So yeah, I can, us three probably can roll off MIPS, LPARS, KICS, MQ, DB2, IMS, on and on, VSAM, and so learning that vernacular, it really gives you a leg up because then you know what they're talking about. And usually that's the hardest part.
Good tips, good tips. I appreciate that. So with that, we're going to go into we've got one question right now, and we're still fielding them. So if you got a couple minutes of an opportunity to learn from our subject matter experts here, but we do have a question posed to the panel. Why is it important to all of you individually to be proud of your heritage?
Well,
Bill, kick us off.
yeah. Well, I feel like that's like my identity. I grew up going to powwows, dancing, and just my grandmother was always telling me stories, just not just like about her childhood and growing up, but just traditional stories, the folklore and the fairy tales and all of it. And so I just feel like it's a big part of who I am. In fact, I have a Native American name that my grandmother gave to me during a special ceremony, Wamnigio Hokshi. She named me Eagle Boy, and that's very special to me. So I feel like my heritage is a big part of who I am.
Yeah, I think that's true for all of us. I think our heritage is important and recognizing and honoring it. And I really resonate, Phil, with what you're saying about the stories. It made me think, my dad lived with me while he was on hospice, and we had nursing staff come in and care for him. And one of the most special times, and I think one of the things that the nurses really appreciated is my dad regaled them with stories, and they would just sit and listen for literally hours to him talk. And when you tell stories like that, I mean, so many of the nurses would say to me, that was amazing. I didn't know that about your family. I didn't know that about your dad. And their relationship changed, the caregiver patient relationship changed. Our relationship with his caregivers changed. And I really think for him, telling his stories was very calming and very peaceful. And so to me, I just can't imagine not having those stories and not sharing them and seeing how interested other people are in them. I don't even know how to put it into words. It's kind of life altering in a way to have that kind of connection happen through those personal stories of your legacy and your history and your ancestry and how people look at you. And so many people, I don't look Native American. And when I start telling them about myself, my family, like the stories that my dad passed on, you can just see they're just shocked because their perception of me was this, and the reality of me is this. And I don't know, I think it's really important to have those stories, and that's why I cherish this book so much. because there's so much in it that I would never know because people aren't here anymore to tell. And my dad has absolutely impacted the lives of other people through his storytelling. And I know those nurses still think about the things that he talked with them about because they just listened so intently and asked them questions and they were just so engaged. So I think it's very important to all of us, regardless of our ancestry, to know and acknowledge and carry it forward.
Yeah, as a native in tech, it can often feel like you're living two worlds. You have your world at home when you're going to stomp dances or you're going to cultural events, and your world in the IT world whenever you're working with people who don't even understand that other side. But, as my grandma always said, you got to know where you're from to know where you're going. And so that's why it's important to me, knowing what my culture is, knowing who I am as a person, as a Native American, and bringing that perspective to the IT world. One of the Cherokees' biggest attributes is our humor. We can find humor in almost anything. And so, being able to bring that into to my workspace, lighten up the room, but at the same time being able to get in and work hard when needed. Those things, obviously other people have those characteristics, but it's a part of the Cherokee culture as well.
Absolutely, and thank you. And I'll also share as well, being an enrolled member of Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians, being born and raised on the Indian reservation. Somebody caught this, I was doing a speaking engagement a few months back. I always introduced myself with my native heritage, right? I'm a, enrolled member of Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa. He thought that was interesting. He called that out. I didn't think anything of it because that's how I've always led with that. And because it's important, right? It's important for me to be sharing that, but I also feel like it's mostly important for other people to know that about me as well. So yeah, it's like I said, it really is everything. And especially if you're in professional, you're probably in your family bloodline, you're trying to trailblaze, right? In a lot of ways, there's probably not a lot of people who are reaching the heights of that you all are in your professions and everything. So, yeah, I know, that gives you some wind in your sails sometimes to know that you're kind of working towards bigger things, in the long run. So I appreciate you all for sharing that piece of it. I do have one more question for the panel, regarding sites. Somebody wants to know where they can find more about Mainframe. Are there any particular websites that you guys would share with the audience?
Yeah, Open Mainframe Project
There you go.
and Z Explorer. I know there's more.
There's also a bunch of groups on LinkedIn. If you go to LinkedIn groups and type in mainframe, several mainframe groups will come up there as well.
Yeah, Planet Mainframe, any of our tech sites, and there's even a Discord out there called Z Enthusiasts that you can join and start talking to professionals right away.
Perfect.
BMC.com, come on.
Yeah.
All the major players, there's a lot of mainframe software companies out there. And, one of the jobs of their websites really is to, take their technology. They're obviously trying to sell something, but you can get little pieces of information from what they're trying to sell and the approach they're taking that can really benefit, from an educational perspective.
Got it. And of course, how it would go. Now we're getting a barrage of questions in the Q&A. So I'm not sure if it's a hard stop. Can anybody chime in on that?
Keep going. Yeah, we can keep going. Yeah,
okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm good. So I'm going to share the next question, which is, mentoring is a great way to pay it forward. They're curious if anyone has been successful in applying their skills or expertise towards their own tribes. Good question.
I have not.
Not towards my own tribe, but I've definitely been trying with Haskell.
Gotcha.
I'll say not yet.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I know that, the tribal college system, I went to tribal college, and I think that's a great way, for you guys. Maybe there's a group called American Indian Higher Education Consortium, aka AHEC. It might be great for you guys to reach out to them and, you know, attend one of their annual conferences or something like that, and just share your stories, because I'm sure it'd be inspiring to a lot of young natives to hear from people that look like them, that, you know, that have similar experiences that they do. Say like, you know what, I've always thought about tech, I'm kind of good at it, but don't necessarily see it as a career path. But said, just encouragement for you guys. I know you guys are doing a lot as is, but that's a great place to go. And I believe, you know, tribal college system is it's a great thing in Indian country too.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
found out about another company called the NAY Systems, and they do mainframe systems work. And I didn't know that there was a Native American mainframe. And then, you know, Jeannie, obviously now I met you. But yeah, I mean, there are companies out there, the tribal companies and tribal organizations that are looking at, you know, what to do with the mainframe.
Right. Yeah. And then I recently went to the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, or ASIS's national conference just about a month ago, or a month and a half ago, because I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it was in San Antonio, which is just 4 hours away. So I went down there and I got to meet a lot of Native Americans in tech, but I was probably the only mainframer there that I knew of. And so, it was almost like being a minority amongst the minorities. And so, so that's where, like trying to not only get tech to Native Americans, but get mainframe to Native Americans.
Perfect. One more question we have is, what are the advantages of having a diverse team at work? Jeannie?
Yeah, so I'm a professor of entrepreneurial thinking at a university here in Minneapolis, and we do a lot of work on this topic. And there's a lot of research. If you just Google search the impact of diversity on innovation, there's all sorts of studies by leading companies. And that research is important to companies like JP Morgan Chase and others do research in that area because it drives profitability. So the advantages are, as a business, it absolutely impacts your bottom line, because diversity of thought is a strength. And diversity of thought, diversity of experience, diversity of opinion, diversity of background, diversity in a conversation. If everybody looks alike, thinks alike, talks alike, this is how much progress you make. You start inserting different views, different experiences, different backgrounds, and this is what the conversation becomes. And that output, you just keep rolling that output from where you are in your company, in your department, or whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, you are absolutely a more profitable company. If that was not the case, companies like JP Morgan Chase would not be spending literally millions of dollars on this research, literally millions of dollars on these programs. They do that for a number of reasons, social reasons as well. But at the end of the day, it's a bottom line calculation.
I don't know if I can add to that, because that was beautifully stated. Thank you, Jeannie.
Yeah, and I was just referring to some things you shared with me earlier on in the process of getting prepared for this, Jeannie, which, the conclusion, I think, really wraps it up nicely, where it talks about diversity positively impacts innovation in multiple measurable areas, including the financial performance, the team creativity, accelerates problem solving, increases employee engagement, and leads to broader market reach. So I think that's a great way to kind of like encapsulate, the impact that diversity has in the workplace. So I appreciate that. And let me see here. Yeah, so with that, we have gone a couple minutes over, but I just want to thank you all for your expertise, the impact they're making out there in Indian country, and in the sector, in the mainframe space. Thank you all for that. And I also want to just thank again the sponsors, BMC, Broadcom, IBM, Open Mainframe Project, Rocket Software, and Tech Channel, and then everybody who tuned in as well and offered some questions. Hopefully you found this insightful. We're always honored to share about our backgrounds, being Native American, and and being professionals. So thank you all for tuning in today. And we wish you all the best, and to just encourage you to participate in anything you can, supporting Native American Heritage Month. There's a lot of great things going on out there, a lot more events like this online as well. So just want to say thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Dean.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.